Today's meeting is basically part two. Part one was on Friday. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin met in Alaska. All eyes were on the outcome of that summit. But after 3 hours of talks, who came out on top? The short answer, Vladimir Putin. It wasn't as clear on Friday, though. First, it seemed like the whole thing was pointless, that no one got anything. But over the weekend, more announcements came in, more statements on Truth Social. So 2 days later, the verdict is clear. Putin was the winner in Alaska. And I will give you 4 reasons why. Number 1, the optics. Trump rolled out the red carpet in Alaska. He welcomed Vladimir Putin with a warm handshake and fly-pasts. This was impossible 1 year ago. The U.S. spent 3 years trying to isolate Putin. They pushed for an arrest warrant against him. But now look at things. The Russian president was welcomed like a friend, like an ally of the United States. Reason number 2, why it was advantage Putin. Trump set a trap for himself. His initial strategy was perfect. He tried to downplay the expectations. The White House called it a listening exercise. Had Trump stuck to that, it would have been fine. No expectations, so no losses. But at the last minute, Trump made a U-turn. He issued a threat to Russia. Will Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday? Yes, they will. Yeah. What will consequences? There will be sanctions, tariffs. There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences. That was on Wednesday before the meeting. Trump said this before the meeting. He warned of severe consequences if a ceasefire was not agreed. Obviously, there was no ceasefire in Alaska. What's more, Trump abandoned his call completely. Listen to what he said on Saturday, his message on Saturday. It was determined by all that the best way to end the horrific war between Russia and Ukraine is to go directly to a peace agreement, which would end the war, and not a mere ceasefire agreement, which oftentimes do not hold up. So Trump went into the meeting calling for a ceasefire, and he came out of the meeting saying that ceasefires do not hold up. This was a big concession by Trump because this was always Russia's position. They have preferred a peace deal over a ceasefire. Then we come to reason number 3, why Putin won. He gave no concessions. His demands have been clear from the start: no NATO membership for Ukraine, limits on Ukraine's military, and recognizing Moscow's hold over newly occupied land. This is what he wanted, and he did not shift from those positions. He stuck to them. We are convinced that for the Ukrainian settlement to be sustainable and long-term, all the root causes of the crisis, which have been discussed repeatedly, must be eliminated. All of Russia's legitimate concerns must be taken into account, and a fair balance in the security sphere in Europe and the world as a whole must be restored. We hope that Kiev and the European capitals will perceive all of this in a constructive manner and will not create any obstacles or attempt to disrupt the emerging progress through provocations or behind the scenes intrigues. So Putin did not concede anything. At the same time, he secured some gains. For starters, no more sanctions. Trump had threatened crippling secondary tariffs and sanctions, but his officials have now ruled them out. They say sanctions have not made a difference in 3 years. And secondly, some bilateral progress was made. Again, this was not on the table. It was not part of the agenda going into the meeting. Trump was only interested in talking about Ukraine, but Putin squeezed in other issues like space and tech cooperation. Which brings us to the 4th reason why Russia had the advantage. Look at Trump's flip-flop after the summit. Before the talks, he was focused on convincing Putin. He wanted the Russians to end the war. But after the talks, that changed. Trump realized that he could not sway Putin. He admitted that no deal was struck. There were many points that we agreed on. Most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So, there's no deal. Until there's a deal, I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell them about today's meeting.
It's ultimately up to them.
Cut to this morning. Look at Trump's social media post. I'm quoting, President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight. So now Trump is putting the onus on Ukraine. He says it is Zelensky who must end the war, which has also been Russia's position: make concessions, end the war. If you add these 4 factors, one thing becomes quite clear. Trump was outplayed in Alaska, and it's not a surprise. Every peace talk is a product of the background. Look at the background to this one. Russia is making gains on the battlefield. Ukraine is low on soldiers and arms. The mediator, Donald Trump, clearly likes Putin more than Zelensky. Plus, his intentions are all over the place. Trump doesn't care how the war ends. He just wants credit when it ends. And since he cannot force Putin, he's turning to someone he can, Zelensky. In this background, Alaska was always going to end in one of 2 ways: with a Putin victory or as a dud.